Good morning, everyone. I am Aminara Omar, and together with my co-researchers, Shanine Humara Aguil and Mobaina M. Limgas, we will be presenting our paper entitled Accept or Reject, a comparative analysis on thematic writings of grade 12 senior high school learners of Pualas National High School and AI-generated answers. In recent years, the integration of artificial intelligence tools such as ChatGPT into educational contexts has raised some serious concerns, particularly regarding authorship and originality in student writing. While AI tools promise efficiency and support, they also challenge traditional notions of learning, effort, and academic integrity. Previous studies have highlighted distinct differences between AI-generated and student-written text. For example, Kasnesi and others in 2023 observed that AI-generated academic texts often exhibit complex syntactic patterns and advanced lexical use, which make them appear sophisticated. However, these texts frequently lack strong argumentative claims and genuine reasoning. In contrast, McNamara and others in 2010 explained that student writing often shows grammatical inconsistencies, uneven coherence, and an emerging authorial voice. While these features may seem like weaknesses, they actually signal authentic cognitive processing and learning in progress. These contrasting characteristics motivated our study to examine how student-written essays and AI-generated essays differ not only linguistically but also situationally, particularly in terms of critical thinking and originality.
Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now, moving forward to the theoretical framework of our study, now we actually anchored it into a comparative study focusing on genre analysis, a thematic analysis between the AI-generated responses, specifically of ChatGPTs and essay written by the students in their assignments. So we specifically wanted to focus on identifying the thematic patterns, especially the recurring ways in which the main ideas were introduced, developed, and connected through a text. Now, the analysis is actually focused on 4 categories, specifically of the structural organization and coherence. Second, the use of engagement markers such as the personal pronoun, rhetorical questions, and the reader's address. We also used the depth of critical thinking and originality of both text and the argumentative strength and handling of counter-arguments of the essays and the AI-generated text. For the structural organization and coherence, we actually wanted to examine how the essays are arranged and how the ideas were connected from beginning to end. So the coherence is actually achieved when the ideas flow logically and supported by linking words or phrases such as therefore, on the other hand, furthermore. So those are the lexicons that we are checking. The use of engagement markers, we actually wanted to examine how the essay connects with the reader, such as the personal pronoun I, we, you, and also the rhetorical question. So we are actually checking if the learners actually utilize the rhetorical question situationally, just in case they actually ask what would happen if ganyan ganyan. So or if there are direct addresses on the audience. The depth of critical thinking and originality actually evaluates how thoroughly the essay explores ideas and whether it offers a fresh insights. So critical thinking involves examining evidence, questioning assumption, and reaching a well-reasoned conclusion. So originality means presenting ideas or connection that go beyond the common knowledge. So we are also assessing how critically the papers of the students and the AIs are different from one another. The argumentative strength and handling of counter-arguments, on the other hand, assesses how convincingly the essay presents its main claim and ideas with opposing views.
Moving on to research methodology, the present study utilizes a qualitative method centered on genre analysis to compare essays written by students with those generated by AI. So this approach was appropriate because it allowed for close examination of how meaning, structure, and engagement are constructed in written discourse rather than measuring surface level accuracy alone. So this study utilized a purposive corpus consisting of 27 argumentative essays written by senior high school students enrolled in the English for Academic and Professional Purposes or EAPP subject during the 2025 academic year. The question is, do you believe artificial intelligence will improve or threaten future job opportunities, and why? So to ensure comparability, an AI-generated essay was produced using ChatGPT by inputting the exact prompt given to students and applying default settings. This ensured that both human and AI text responded to identical task conditions. So the data were collected from existing student submissions, of course with institutional permission and adherence to ethical guidelines, including the confidentiality of student work. No additional data elicitation was conducted, which minimized the interference of the researchers. So the AI text functioned as a controlled comparative sample rather than replacement corpus. So the data analysis followed a qualitative genre analysis approach. First, the identifying. The researchers conducted a close reading of the 27 student written essays and the AI-generated essay to become familiar with the content and overall writing patterns. Initial observations were noted, focusing on structure, language use, and engagement markers. Second is the cross-examination of patterns. The researchers compared the student essays and the AI text to identify similarities and differences in how ideas were organized, arguments were developed, and readers were engaged. Recurring themes and linguistic features were grouped and analyzed across both sets of text. So finally is the assessment, which the researchers synthesized the findings by evaluating the overall writing quality and educational implications of the results. This step involved interpreting how the identified patterns reflect differences in cognitive processing, originality in academic writing practices between student-authored and AI-generated texts. Moving on to the results and discussion. So to answer the research question, what linguistic features are similar and different in writing assignments, registers, and source writing? First, the structural organization and coherence. The student-written essays follow a basic structural pattern consisting of introduction, body, and conclusion. Some of their answers start with the phrase "I believe," indicating a direct answer to the questions. Meanwhile, AI-generated essays also follow a systematically developed structure indicating adherence to the standardized academic models. So, as you can see, both student-written essays and AI-generated essays follow a basic academic structure. Most essays have an introduction, body, and conclusion. Many student essays start with a direct answer to the question, often using the phrases like "I believe." This shows that students follow what they are taught in class. So in the same way, the AI-generated essay also follows a clear and organized structure. However, there is a difference in how ideas flow. AI-generated essays are very organized and smooth. Each paragraph focuses on one idea, and the transition words are used to connect ideas clearly. So because of this, the essay is easy to follow but also predictable. Meanwhile, the student-written essays show an even flow of ideas. Some paragraphs include many ideas or suddenly change topics. So while this may look like a weakness, it also shows how students think while writing. So their ideas develop as they write, which makes their work more natural and human. So next is the use of engagement markers. So the students frequently use first person pronouns such as "I believe" and "I think" in their introductory part. Meanwhile, AI-generated essays frequently use a more neutral and impersonal tone. Student essays often use personal words like "I think" and "I believe," especially in the beginning. So this shows that students share their own opinions and express their voice. However, these expressions are sometimes too personal and not always supported by strong explanations. Students also rarely use questions or directly talk to the readers. So, although there are observed few inconsistencies in using pronouns such as the neutral pronouns and inclusive pronouns "we" and the use of pronouns "they" to indicate the users of AI, addressing them as the users. So in AI-generated essays, they use a more neutral and formal tone. They usually avoid personal pronouns and instead talk about ideas in a general way. Sometimes the word "we" is used, but overall the writing sounds impersonal. So this makes the essay sound academic, but it can also feel less engaging or interesting.
Now let's move on to the results on research question number 2, specifically on section number 1. The results show that student-written essays frequently demonstrate personal positioning. Students openly express their stance using phrases such as "for me" and "I think." These expressions indicate that students are engaging with a topic from their own perspectives and lived experiences. On the other hand, AI-generated essays exhibit what we describe as expository critical thinking. These texts are highly organized and present claims in a coherent and systematic manner. The arguments flow logically and transitions are smooth. However, despite this coherence, AI-generated essays tend to remain generalized and impersonal. The claims are often predictable and drawn from widely available patterns rather than from specific contexts or experiences. In short, while student essays may appear less refined, they demonstrate authentic originality through personal stance and contextual awareness, whereas AI-generated essays prioritize structure and fluency over genuine cognitive engagement.
So, as for the argumentative strength and handling of counter-arguments, the findings reveal that both the AI-generated text and the student-authored text demonstrate a balanced thematic structure characteristic of argumentative essays within the educational context. So, the central theme of the AI's generated text is actually focusing on a dual potential, encompassing a both improvement and a threat. So it is actually introduced early and subsequently developed through a presentation of advantage, disadvantage, and mediating factors. Now, the same goes with the student essay, which actually follows a nearly identical thematic pattern. So they introduce their essay, majority of them introduce their essay in an optimistic main claim upfront that it is more likely to improve job opportunities, and they actually develop the themes extensively by citing examples that there are new career in AI development, there are data sciences, robotics, cybersecurity, AI ethics, and support in healthcare, education, and sciences. So they actually highlight the productivity and job quality gains and resolves with adaptation to education and responsible use. So interestingly, these are actually the moves or the thematic patterns in the AI generated answers and the student text. Focusing on the argumentatives, they actually first started by claiming their answers and then acknowledging that at some point that AI is actually beneficial. However, at some point it possesses a disadvantage. After the acknowledgement, they are actually framing contextually their claims based on situation. So specifically, their arguments is that AI could actually improve job by automating routine tasks, allowing workers to focus on more creative and meaningful work. Citing, for example, it actually increases efficiency. It also reduces human error and can create new roles in fields like programming, data analysis, and AI system design. So these are the contexts they cited in the and their essays. While it is also found in the AI generated text, which is of the ChatGPTs. Now, one interesting findings on this study is that both the AI-generated text and the student answers in their essays assignment is actually the almost identical in content and emphasis of recurring subthemes such as the job creation in emerging fields, the automation of routine task, productivity enhancement, and the irreplaceable nature of human ability. So, this was actually evident in most of the answers of the learners. In a positive sense, according to Yu and Wu in 2024, the novelty effects of AI chatbots is actually this could improve the learning outcomes of the learners in short intervention. However, it has worn off in a long intervention as the matters are passively consuming temporary knowledge rather than a deep and retained learning. Now, the work of student mirroring the AI pattern is actually also risking debunking concerns about the AI's educational role. Now, what we actually wanted to say here is that the AI should be used as a scaffold for short intervention, such as the learners may use the AI for brainstorming, but not as a crutch to avoid a temporary knowledge that doesn't translate to a real world adaptability.
In conclusion, this study concludes that student written text significantly displays more authentic cognitive processing, subjectivity, and developmental variability. ChatGPT generated essays are highly proficient at mimicking the surface level conventions of academic writing expected from senior high school students, producing texts that are structurally sound, coherent, and formally appropriate. Moreover, student written essays significantly demonstrate greater depth of critical thinking and originality compared to AI-generated essays. Student written essays reflect evaluative judgment, personal stance taking, and ethical reasoning, which is often grounded in real life context and everyday experiences. In contrast, AI generated essays, while structurally coherent and lexically sophisticated, exhibit a generalized form of reasoning that lacks contextual specificity and genuine originality. AI language models prioritize clarity and fluency, which results in formulaic arguments. In totality, critical thinking and originality are inherently human qualities that AI cannot fully replicate.
Now, based from the insights of this study, we actually urge the next researcher to actually expand the number of corpora in the study, expanding not only from the assignments but also the quizzes and activities done in the classroom, because we actually believe that those are what actually reflects the current level knowledge of the students. Next to that, we also recommend a persuasive essay topic that should be used as a question in the corpora to have a more in-depth and focus on argumentative thematic analysis.
Based on the findings, our study highlights important pedagogical implications for writing instruction. First, artificial intelligence should be only used as a scaffold, particularly for short-term interventions such as brainstorming or idea organization. Over-reliance on AI risks bypassing the learning process and may result in superficial understanding. The second is that educators are encouraged to explicitly teach responsible AI use. This includes guiding students on how to critically evaluate AI-generated content rather than passively accepting it. More importantly, teachers should continue to emphasize the value of student-authored work as a concrete evidence of learning. Writing should remain a space where students develop their voice, reasoning skills, and originality. When it is used ethically and strategically, AI can support instruction. However, it should never replace the human cognitive processes that are essential to meaningful learning. That is all for our presentation. Thank you for listening.